MyMac Podcast 867.
So we're back. Hi everyone and welcome to this week's mighty MyMac Podcast. And yes, believe it or not, we had sort of intended to do a show from Macstock, or nearby at least, but circumstanced, or circumcised I should say, deemed otherwise. Some virtual but very real technical issues, audio feedback, and the fact that Guy took a laptop running a Mojave beta, so no Rogue Amoeba apps could be run, meant that, frankly, it was just impossible. It didn't matter how many microphones Guy took with him, over 10, no matter what he thought at the time, he was just gathering them. Guy, I think we didn't quite make it.
No, we did not. You were in, it wasn't the Jitsi room. Now there were like two virtual rooms. And actually, tell you what, before we get crazy and start talking about Macstock, let's save it for the next part of the show where we're going to talk about Macstock. A lesson that I should have learned when we had Mike Potter on, but did not.
Well, no.
Okay.
So what's happened? So what have you been doing this week?
Well, this is a little preview of some of the crazy crap that happened to me while I was in Chicago. So travel stories abound. I flew on a plane decorated in a Star Wars theme, even though I had specifically requested a Star Trek one.
Oh.
Thrifty car rental will no longer receive any kind of consideration going forward with how they screwed me and others with upselling cars other than the ones we reserved. And on a kind of a sad note, I have two cousins that live in the Chicago area, Joyce and Ken, and I won't say what their last names are. But Ken had like a massive heart attack while I was out. I'm laughing because it's like, Really? Okay. He had like this massive heart attack while I was out there. And the way I found out about it, I was at this Illinois Train Museum with Dave Ginsburg from In Touch with iOS. And I get this message from my cousin, his sister, saying that he'd had this heart attack. And we'll go all into all of that in the next part of the show. But it was a crazy time, Gaz. It really was.
So can I just ask, is he okay now? He is then.
Yeah, he's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty serious. It was like a quadruple bypass that he ended up getting.
Because I'm sure you'll go into it, but you know the reason why he had it, don't you?
No.
He heard you was in town.
Well, that would do it. That would certainly do it.
Well,
I'm still using my Shure SM7B in case anyone wants to know.
Well, I'm glad to hear. I'm glad they don't. I'm glad to hear he's okay, and we'll jump into that. I'm sure
as okay as you can be.
As okay as you can be after having a massive heart attack. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Well, actually, I've had a busy week. I've done all sorts, including some stuff on MyMac. So basically, on Monday, I've been doing some volunteering at a local water, where basically on the Monday we'll do a little bit of litter picking, fairly straightforward. Quite therapeutic, that, actually, to be honest with you. And then on the Wednesday when I go there, we do some fencing. Fixing a load of fences, which are, no, not that sort of fencing.
Oh, okay.
And that is really good. It's really good fun, actually. And we're getting to, as a group of us getting to know each other. So that's good fun. And on the Monday, though, I took my bike
and the swords are blunted, right?
Not that sort of fencing.
And
on the Monday, I actually took the bike and rode round the reservoir, which is about 20 miles. And I actually saw some old school friends while I was riding around. So it was all good fun. I did some.
Can I interrupt for just a second?
Go on.
You had a Facebook post.
Yes.
Where you had your route while you were running around on the pitch, on a rugby pitch.
Yes, that's different. Yes.
And
because I did 2 games this week as well. That's why I'm busy. But yeah.
And good friend of the show, Martin, said it looked like you had killed someone and drugged their body all over the field. To which I said something along the lines of murder rugby. What's the first rule of murder rugby, Gaz?
Yeah.
We don't talk about murder rugby.
Yeah, we do. Well, I wasn't talking about it. You brought it up.
I know, but I couldn't help it. It was so funny.
Yeah.
Or at least I thought it was.
And then on Friday, we went down to Bristol to see my daughter, who's just got a flat down there. So we were just helping her out with some bits. And then
so you're just down to 2 now, then, right? Other than you and Mrs. Gaz?
Well, this one's generally been away anyway. She's only came back during the early part of the COVID period. So there's 4 of us still in the house.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just been, and I've had to do lots of admin work on the computer. So yeah, it's been quite busy. So I think, Guy, having said all that, I could jump into a continuation of the Ordnance Survey.
It's been, 2 weeks? 3 weeks?
2 weeks. Been 2 weeks. Because if you remember, we've moved now into the early 2000s.
No, 3 weeks. Because when we had Mike Putter on, we didn't do it.
That's true. 3 weeks. Yes.
3 weeks.
Indeed. So we've now, to remind everybody, we've moved into the early 2000s up to 2014. So OS Open Data was made freely available for the first time in 2010 when 12 open data products were released. They have continued to update and to add OS Open Data, and in 2015, they released OS Open Map, Local, OS Open Names, OS Open Rivers, Open Roads, and then this was followed by the release of OS Open Green Space in 2017.
So no OS Open Lion Tamers?
No, not this. Not yet. Not yet.
It's coming.
So over the first 8 years of OS Open Data, they saw data downloaded 1.9 million times. On average, 150 people download OS Open Data every day. That's 54,750 people a year. So that's a very quick journey through some of their key milestones, or let's go through some of their key milestones, I should say, for this era. So Ordnance Survey partnered with local government group in launching GeoPlace to create and maintain a single national address gazetteer. As Great Britain cheered on its athletes during the London 2012 Olympic Games, OS Data was underpinning the work of 42 organisations who pulled together to deliver that hugely successful event. It was
42.
12. 42, yes, 42. For the mobile generation, OS Maps was launched. That's what I'm using. The premium mapping app from Ordnance Survey allowed users for the first time to view, navigate, and download the most up-to-date OS Land Ranger and OS Explorer maps of Great Britain on devices in high resolution. That was the early one I'm using. Actually, it's moved on to a different app now, but we'll probably get back onto that. So over the past 2 episodes of the 2000 to 2014, we've spoken about how under the direction of Vanessa Lawrence, OS saw a decade and a half of great change.
And wasn't she the first one that was like a civilian?
Yes,
that was running it?
Yes, absolutely.
See,
absolutely.
I listened.
You listened. Good
I
man.
did.
So we've got about 1 more session left of that, and then I'll get on to the next app, which will probably take, probably 1 week's talking about. However, I will mention, actually, that I did complain a few weeks ago, possibly when Mike was on, about my watch battery.
Yes.
So I did a reset because I heard something on the Mac Geek Gab about resetting contacts in the phone for the watch app on the phone. So I went in there and did that reset, and initially didn't think anything had corrected itself. However, I have to report that since doing that, and or unless Strava have actually improved their app themselves, the battery is now not losing its battery life quite as quickly as it was. So I'm hoping that it's fixed for the moment, at least, because I was talking about getting a new watch, but that's now off the agenda for the time being.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention.
Go on.
New phone.
Oh,
I did get the 13. Not the Pro and not the Pro Max. Just the regular. Did you get the big one? Flip it. You did. You got the big one. Did you get like the Pro Max or just the Pro?
No, just the Pro. Just the Pro.
Okay.
The Pro Max would have been too big. So
yeah, you know, and after using an SE2 for like the last 2 years,
yeah,
this came and it was like, oh my God, it's a slab of plastic and steel and metal and glass, and I don't know. And it was like, ooh, I can actually see stuff in it. That's a good thing.
That's a good thing. Anyway, I'm going to jump, Guy, into Gaz's snippets.
Haven't heard it in 2 weeks, and I've missed it.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so the first one is Apple TV Plus hit Ted Lasso wins big at the Emmys, including an award for Outstanding Comedy Series. Have you watched this week's?
Yes.
I've got the last 8 minutes because I was watching it before I came on this. So I've got 8 minutes left. Apple releases.
What about the big explosion? Did you see that yet? Did that happen yet?
It was great. It was great.
Okay.
It's a sad thing when Ted.
Who dies. Is it that's going to survive to next week? We don't know.
Well, I don't think Ted. I think he's already dead, mate. I do. Apple releases a trailer for sci-fi movie Finch, starring Tom Hanks. Apple CEO Tim Cook faces significant employee unrest. That is ongoing, and I think we'll be reporting more on that in the next few weeks and beyond. Until the press get it out of their skulls. Yes, absolutely. And until you start having fuel shortages, which are only brought about by the press saying that there are fuel shortages.
So everybody panics and fills their car up.
Exactly what's happening over here.
Of a tank filled up.
Idiots. Anyway, watchOS 8 is available. iPad OS 15 is available. iOS 15 is available. Ming Chi Kuo, Guy. iPhone 13 pre-orders stronger than iPhone 12. iPhone 13 Pro shortages to stretch into November. Well, I've got to say, Ming, that was minging.
Yeah.
I just had to do that. Anyway, let's move on. Apple Card gains advanced fraud protection in iOS 15. More on that later, or more on something else later. Apple researching ways to use iPhone camera to detect childhood autism. Could be good. More health stuff there. Apple.
What?
What do you mean? What?
How is the Apple Watch going to
watch?
detect autism? No, maybe you said phone.
I hope I said phone. It's the phone that we're talking about.
Okay, well, regardless.
Well, you say that. Now, there are a lot of things in the way people act and eye movement, facial movement, a reaction, the way they talk, the way they speak. And if the phone can pick that up and then the algorithms behind it understand that that is not normal behavior, it's more, on the spectrum of autism, then that's how they can do it.
Well, how do you
think
it would see me?
It's the same for people who can't remember things.
About what?
See what I did that? About anything.
Oh.
There's, they've got a game came out where you had to push a boat through a load of places and remember where you'd been and where you had to go.
Yeah, I used a hammer.
I'm moving on. Apple now sells refurbished iPhones in Canada. Well done, Canada. Apple says it will update iPhone 13 with option to disable automatic macro photography switching. I've not found that problem yet, but we shall see about that. Apple offers 6 months free Apple Music to AirPods and Beats owners. Well, I left that in because I'm a bit annoyed because now my third set of Beats has now gone. The battery in there has just gone kaput. Now, I've had 2 replacements for the other ones, but this set, I've got a feeling that it's now gone. I'm just fed up with the battery finally.
What, they've replaced your Beats headphones or they've replaced the batteries?
No, they replaced the headphones.
And both of them have gone bad.
Well, I've now got a third set that has now gone bad. So, I mean, this is over a few years, but I suppose I'm frustrated because I like them so much. They're really useful, and I've got them everywhere with me. So I'm now looking for an alternative. But you can get the Beats X. I know they've changed it now. I can't remember what the name of the new Beats is, but it's the Beats X. You can still get at a reasonable price. So I may just bite the bullet.
So the Beats X goes on.
Very good. I like your thinking. Mac shortcut bug can take over.
So many people won't understand that.
Well, let them go out and do some research.
Yeah.
And a Mac shortcut bug can take over the machine, and the Apple patch has been unsuccessful. I put this in. I haven't read it yet. A Mac shortcut bug can enable an attacker to take over your machine when you open an email using nothing more than a standard internet shortcut file. Apple claims to have patched the bug in Big Sur and Monterey, but the security research who discovered the issue says that this is only partly true. I think we'll probably hear more of that as we move on. That was back on the 22nd of September, though. So,
do you know what I use shortcuts for? I use shortcuts in two different ways.
Go on.
I have one when I plug my phone in for CarPlay and when I unplug it, and it just says something stupid to me. In both occasions.
Yeah, but that's on your iOS device. If you listen to me, I was talking about the Mac, but you obviously weren't listening to me. But that's usual. Apple giving retail employees a $1,000 bonus ahead of the iPhone 13 launch and holiday season, hoping that they'll probably buy the iPhone with it. Apple bans. That's me being cynical.
And they'll stop complaining about working for Apple.
Apple bans Fortnite from the App Store indefinitely as legal battle continues.
Bagels. Lox and bagels.
All I can say is Fortnite and Epic have now probably realised that was not the best attitude and process to take at the start of this battle. Talk about getting too big for your boots.
Tim Sweeney sucks big eggs. Sorry. It's caught in my throat there. Sorry.
EU advances proposal that would require Apple to add a USB-C port to the iPhone.
Good.
Well, good and bad if they are saying that that's the only port you can use henceforth moving forward here on Earth.
Apple should have changed Lightning for the USB-C port on the 12.
Okay. So maybe they should have done it because they can't argue that they don't use it on other devices because they do. And maybe they're just trying to save money. Exactly. But eventually I think we're going to go portless. But that I think is still 2 or 3 years away, if I'm perfectly honest with you. The only downside on that is if there are further advances in cable manufacturing and capability, then they don't want to be stuck with just a USB-C. So that's the downside of what the EU are trying to do. But I get it. I do get it. Germany now lets people save their driver's license on the iPhone. Well done, Germany. Apple opposes the EU plans to make common charger port for all devices. Not a surprise. Apple iPhone has averaged 133% performance increases every 4 years. I mean, Guy...
Sure. Why wouldn't it? I know. It's like one of the... Yes, we've increased performance by 1.5 times over the course of 4 years, which everybody else says, sure, you probably should have anyway.
I don't think this is Apple saying it. This is just somebody saying it so they could get the word Apple and performance and iPhone into a sentence to get clicked through. I didn't click on this, folks, by the way. This is a download and I'm just using it. I've not clicked through to read the story because it just gets me up.
Terrible.
Really annoyed. Okay. Apple warns of an arbitrary code execution 0-day being actively exploited on Macs. I think this was the one that we were talking about previously.
Yes.
EFF flew a banner over Apple Park during the Apple event to protest CSAM plans. Did they fly any banners over Facebook and Google? Just asking.
No, I think it was just Apple because nobody cares about Facebook and Google.
Apple promises fix for broken unlock with Apple Watch feature on iPhone 13. I did notice that was broken, but it's now working for me, or it has been working for me. Do you remember a Junie Eevee Do you remember that name? Johnny Ivy? I think it was something like that. Joni.
Joan Jett and the Blackhearts? Blackhawks? Blackhearts.
Yeah, that's
God,
completely
which one
lost
is
on
it?
you, is it? No, Guy. I'm talking about Johnny Ive. Former Apple design chief Johnny Ive. I was trying to be funny by forgetting his name. Didn't work. Because you don't get jokes, do you? I mean, sorry, you do get jokes.
To annoy you and make things generally irritating.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. He anoints his. He anoints his. This cold is really getting to me.
You are having like all kinds of issues today.
Tissues is what I'm having, not issues. Tissues. He's announced a multi-year partnership with Ferrari. Expect Ferraris to get flatter, folks,
and thinner. And less ports.
You've been acting
and
really
less
weird
wheels.
lately.
Less wheels. Yeah.
Google apparently are fighting a record 5.1 billion EU fine and slams the regulators for ignoring Apple.
For what?
Or
was that the whole headline?
It's an antitrust regulation. They're just trying to divert attention, Guy. Apple unveils new features in iWork suite of productivity apps. I don't know if you've seen that. I think they're talking about doing pivot tables in numbers now as well, which has got a lot of people very happy. Lisa
Pacelli actually. Oh, wait, hold on.
You say Pacelli and I say Pacelli.
Yeah, she actually had a tweet out saying how happy she was that Numbers had. What was it?
Pivot tables.
Yeah. I don't even know what pivot tables are. But apparently they're really important when it comes to spreadsheets.
They can be, yes. They can be, yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. I used to use them a lot at work, so I agree with that. The irony in this, I think, was not lost on anybody. Tim Cook, in a leaked memo, says employers who leak memos do not belong at Apple. Oh, the irony. Oh, the irony.
Yeah, that was me, Tim. I'm hands up. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Some iPhone 13 users are reporting intermittent touch tissues. And older
touch issues.
Tissues, yeah.
Intimate touch tissues.
And older models have also been affected after the update to iOS 15. I'm glad you're thinking my cold is really that funny. Strong iPhone 13 demand sees Taiwan suppliers prioritize Apple over rivals. They would do because the others aren't selling anything. So why would they? 75 million Apple stock options declared for Tim Cook at the end of the quarter. Well, at least he's getting some pay. Apple and Google are given a mid-October deadline in South Korea for filing plans to allow outside payment systems in apps. It's going to be ongoing, that one, I think.
Yeah.
Some iPhone 13 and iOS 15 users... Oh, I've done that. Sorry, that's a duplication. Sorry, folks. Let me just unduplicate that. An Apple Watch has been responsible for calling an ambulance and contacting a girlfriend of a motorcyclist hit by a van. And that van didn't stop, apparently. Helped save his life. So there you go. Another story of why you should be wearing a watch, because it could save your life. I'm going to skip that one.
I'm not usually like this when we do a show every week. It's when we miss one that I get kind of manic.
iOS 15 messages bug causes saved photos to be deleted. That's not so good. If you save a photo from a messages thread and then go to delete that thread, the next time an iCloud backup is performed, the photo will disappear. I think that's probably being or has been fixed. Apple treasurer Gary Wilpfler reportedly retires after 35 years.
Never heard that man's name before in my entire life.
Absolutely. Apple corporate treasurer Gary Wilpfler, that's Wipfler.
Where do they come up with these guys with these names? that are just like comedy
Well,
gold.
hang on a minute. He's now leaving the company. According to sources familiar with the matter, Wiltler, who is 62, worked for Apple for more than 35 years, and get this guy, was responsible for managing the company's 194 billion in cash.
So he's going.
Did he have? He's a going, and he's taken a few with him. No, he's not. He's not.
I'm sure after 35 years of managing 190-some billion dollars in cash.
$94 billion, yeah.
And here's the thing: back in the 90s, he probably could have like sat at a table
and counted
and said 1, 2, 3, 3, and
yes,
that would have been it.
Yes.
And then what?
He needs help now. He's now got a whole row of those machines, when it flicks through, counting at the cashiers and counting all the cash.
You see them in all the gangster movies.
Definitely. A doctor apparently has used an iPhone 13 Pro's macro camera to check a patient's eyes. Yes,
Good.
They're still there.
Yes, they are. You've got
security experts warn of Apple Pay Express Transit hack that enables large unauthorized Visa payments from locked iPhones. This has been hitting the news over the last few days, actually, I think. And Visa have said, oh, yeah, we're aware of it. We really don't think it's that much of a problem. Apple haven't really said too much that I'm aware of at this stage. So we'll have to wait and see. But this actually has been proven in lab conditions, let's say it that way.
Well, does it work when you use the physical card, or how are they getting the information about
No,
your
so
account?
basically in the UK, when you go past some contactless payments, you can just put your phone on it. You don't have to unlock it. So it just registers because it's a small amount. So you register that small amount and go through. What they're saying is this hack can create a scenario where they can just be close to your phone, and it allows not only a small payment, but a very large payment by just being close, going past that detector or that, NFC or whatever it is, the contactless payment process. So let me just read this a little bit. Express Transit. So Express Transit is an Apple Pay feature that allows for tap and go payment on ticket barriers, eliminating the need to authenticate with Face ID or a passcode. The device does not need to be awakened or unlocked to use Express Transit. Computer science researchers from Birmingham and Surrey universities demonstrated how the attack works by exploiting a weakness in the Visa contactless system through a use of the small piece of commercially available radio equipment, which is placed near the phone and masquerades as a ticket barrier. An Android phone running an app developed by the researchers is used to relay signals from the iPhone to a contactless payment terminal, and modifies the communications to fool the terminal into acting as if the iPhone has been unlocked and a payment authorized. In demonstrating the attack, researchers made a contactless Visa payment of £1,000 from a locked iPhone. The scientists only took money from their own accounts. The researchers said that the Android phone and payment terminal used don't need to be near the victim's phone as long as they are on an internet connection. Actually, Apple have said, we take any threat to user security very seriously. This is a concern with Visa system, but Visa does not believe that this kind of fraud is likely to take place in the real world, given the multiple layers of security in place. In the unlikely event that an unauthorized payment does occur, Visa has made it clear that their cardholders are protected by Visa's zero liability policy. So this is not really an Apple issue, it's a Visa issue, but they've demonstrated it on the iPhone.
Yeah. But here's the thing. There'll be a lot of people, because what these people will do, they won't do the big amounts like what you're talking about, because those are too easily contested. They'll do lots of little ones that just kind of slip through, and you may not see them when you look at your statement. No,
they won't. No, we've had that. We've been there in this country, Guy. We've gone through that. They won't do that, because what they do on that is a small amount to see if they can get it through, and then they do a larger amount. Doing lots of small amounts doesn't count up for enough, because now they get caught very quickly in the UK on some of those small payments on your account. It gets picked up fairly quickly once that starts happening.
Well, those people suck.
Apple now lets absolutely. Apple now lets customers rate and review pre-installed apps on the App Store. So Apple Podcasts, for example, got quite a few single-star ratings. Wonder why?
So did the Thrifty Car Rental app.
Yeah, I wonder. iPhone 13 Pro, there's a review that says the new battery life champion. It's an iPhone 13 Max. What else are you expecting?
It has a bigger battery.
Oh, for heaven's sake. Apple issues device support update for macOS Big Sur. Apple released a standalone device support update for macOS Big Sur. The minor update ensures proper updating and restoring for iOS and iPad devices on a Mac. But no further details have been released other than those little couple of lines. This one I liked. I liked this headline. A guy walks into a bar. That's the headline, and I just wanted to say it because it's got your name in it. Apple Pay with Visa. Oh, I've done that one. Apple supplier Foxconn agrees to buy an Ohio car factory for $230 million. That is not very expensive.
They're not buying it.
Right. I was going to say that is quite cheap for a car factory, surely.
Oh, listen. Lordstown Motors, which is the company that currently owns it. This was a former GM factory. They used to make the Chevy Cruze in it. I actually knew someone that worked there. They bought it from GM after GM had just kind of stopped using it for $20 million. And so now here comes Foxconn, and they're going to invest $200+ million into it, and they're not even going to have it outright. They're going to share the space with Lordstown Motors, who apparently is another one of these, we make electric cars that nobody's ever heard of before, like Apple. So we'll see what happens with that. But if they can get that factory up and going again, I know that the people in that whole area of Ohio, the northeast part of Ohio, will be very happy.
Cool. Good. Office 2021 for Mac is available October 5th with a new collaborative feature or features. Yay! Apparently, Apple CEO Tim Cook was in New York for a meeting with EU's competition chief, Margaret Vestager. I hope he had a nice chat and some really, really black coffee.
Nice work.
Apple has released iOS 15.01 with a fix for Apple Watch unlocking bug on iPhone 13 models. That's probably why mine's okay now. United Airlines integrates with Apple's health app for COVID-19 vaccination verification. Well done, United Airlines.
Too bad they suck as an airline.
And Apple has ended its iPhone 8 logic board repair program that started back in 2018. And that guy is the end of Gaz's snippets.
Okay, well, I know I was a little bit crazy as you were going through those snippets.
It was fine.
But it has been a while. And
yes.
I had like this buildup of crazy that I had to take care of. So, yeah, that's what I did.
Guy crazy? Yeah. I don't believe it.
Well, they have an app for that now. Apparently.
No.
All right, everyone, please stand by. And Gaz and I will be back with all kinds of shenanigans from Chicago when we get right back. What an odd way to end this segment.
Yeah, really odd.
And welcome everyone back to the MyMac Podcast. Gaz is ready and willing and able to just sit back and listen to my Chicago shenanigans. Shenanigans, buddy. So I left on Thursday, and my wife took me to the airport, which was nice because then I didn't have to worry about taxis and all the rest of that. And as I was going through I was going through TSA, and naturally, because of all the gear that I take with me, because I'm so stupid about these things, it goes through the X-ray, and the same thing happens, Gaz, every single time. I put my bag on the X-ray conveyor belt.
Yeah.
And I can watch the guy whose job it is to look at everything going through. And he looks so bored. Like he just wants
until your bag goes through.
Until my bag goes through. He'll be like, and Corey, if you don't watch the video, you won't see this, but he'll just be like,
a double take.
Yeah.
And then what he does,
a nuclear detonator.
Yeah, and then what you see is the conveyor belt then stop, go backwards, and you see the guy get closer to the screen to have a look. Yeah,
screen burn by the time he's done with my bag. So it comes out, and of course they call me over and they swipe it to make sure that there's no explosive residue.
Yeah, can you open this bag, please, sir?
Yeah, sure. And everything just goes spring all over the place. So I get through TSA, and I'm walking toward my gate, and as I look out onto the taxiway, I see this plane, and it says Star Wars on the side of it.
Ooh.
And I was like, oh, that looks really cool. I wonder what lucky sod is going to get that plane. Well, as it turns out, it was me. It pulled up right to the gate that we were at, and I never saw both sides of the plane, but I ran into this guy that worked for United. Apparently Disney paid United to retheme the plane when Curse of the Skywalker, or whatever the last Star Wars movie, the Curse return kind of explosion thing of the Skywalker. So he was from Australia, but he worked for marketing for United in the United States, because why wouldn't he?
Yeah,
why
precisely.
wouldn't he? And as I was looking, I could see one side of the plane, and it was the light side of the plane, because on the tail there was a white lightsaber, and then as you go on to the body, there was an X-wing fighter, and he was saying, yeah, that's the light side, even though the plane was pretty much all themed in black, and it said Rise of the Skywalker, or whatever the name of that last movie was, on the side. And he said on the other side, on the tail, there's a red lightsaber and a TIE fighter. So that's the dark side. This is the light side, that's the dark side. And I said, well, that's clever.
Yeah.
And that's the plane I'm going to fly on. So
very nice.
I get onto the plane, and the inside is themed as well.
Cool.
There are like little pillows on every single seat, and there's like orange and purple ones. And I don't remember which ones were which, but one had like the rebellion symbol on it, and the other one had the symbol for the First Order. So you could either sat on the light side of the Force or the dark side of the Force on this plane. And there were people who were completely oblivious to all of it, because you couldn't see, unless you were looking, you couldn't see the outside of the plane to realize that it was Star Wars themed. So us weirdos that were like, oh, look at that, it's a Star Wars plane. You know, we were all talking about it to ourselves, and the people that are around us are like, what? They didn't care. And even better, you know, I said earlier that, you know, United sucks. And in a lot of ways they do, because I remember flights out to San Francisco for the Macworld Expo that were just horror shows with how small the seats were. But I had exit row, both going to Chicago and coming back from Chicago. So I had plenty of leg room, and it only cost me another $140. That used to be free. It used to be free, guys. Exit row was one of those things that was like, well, we appreciate the fact that you're in exit row, because if something happens, you know, you're going to be there and blah, blah, blah. Now it's like, you know, we could make some extra money,
because people want to sit there.
If people want to sit there for the extra leg room, so we're going to charge them for it. And that was not the first overcharge I got on this trip, or not the last overcharge, I should say. But it was a nice flight to Chicago.
So the question that everybody is desperate for me to ask is dark or light?
I was on the dark side. I was on the dark side of the plane. According to my Star Wars friendly cousin who told me, because I sent a picture of the seats. And she was like, "You on that side or that side?" I said, "Well, I'm on this side." "Oh, so that's the dark side."
Right.
Like, okay.
So you went victory.
Yeah, victory.
Yeah.
So, well, certainly much better than saying
The president is an utter moron.
Yeah, you don't do that. So, I get to Chicago, and O'Hare Airport has been going through these like big changes. And you used to be able to get your rental car right there at the various terminals that were right there. Not anymore. Now you get on a shuttle bus, and from Chicago you go through Canada, swing back through Canada,
yeah,
and you go to a separate
on a boat.
terminal. On a boat, yes.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
There's helicopters and ARCs involved, apparently.
Yep.
So I get to this place, and I have a prepaid, reserved 4-door sedan through Thrifty. Okay?
Oh.
I get up to the counter. Now, before we go any further, I have to say, I understand that because of COVID, the rental car companies pretty much got rid of almost their entire fleets because nobody was renting cars. I understand that. That's fine. I understand that sometimes you're not going to have the car that I requested. That's fine. It doesn't make me particularly happy, but I understand it. So I get to the counter, and the guy's there, and I give him my driver's license, and he's looking at my reservation.
And he goes,
No, that's what I was saying before this was all over with. He says, "Well, we don't have any Toyota 4-door sedans available." And I was like, "Well, okay, what have you got?" And he says, "We have minivans." And I was like, I didn't want a freaking minivan.
No.
And I was like that. I kind of said, "I really don't want a minivan." He says, "Well, it could take an hour or two before something else might be available." I was like, "Okay, fine. Give me the minivan." He says, "Okay, that'll be an extra $125. I said,
"No, I don't think so."
What? And he says, "Yeah, it's an extra. It's an upsell. It's a step up from the car that I had reserved, so they're going to charge me more." I said, "You didn't have the car that I had requested and had already paid for. Why am I being charged extra for this car?" And he says, "Oh, well, you can wait. Maybe in an hour or two, we'll have another car available." And it's like, this building is in the middle of nowhere. Other than a bathroom, there are no amenities whatsoever.
Got you by the short and curlies.
Pretty much. So it's like, give me the goddamn car. Just give it to me. Sure, there. I'm going to pay for it, bastards. But I'll tell you this, I will not. And and for all that matters, the little surveys that you get, I hardly ever fill those out. I filled them out this time. I filled one out for Expedia, which is who I made the reservation with.
Yeah.
And I filled out one for Thrifty. And again, is it going to matter? I don't know. Probably not. But I'd
also
pretty much let them have it as best as I could through these surveys. And I will never use Thrifty again. I don't care if they have the lowest price. I will not use them. That's that kind of upsell, and the fact that the guy just didn't care.
No.
He couldn't even make the effort of looking like he felt sorry for having to do this stupid thing. No, it was like, "No, you can take this, or you can go wait with those other people for the next hour and a half." And it's like,
wow.
Give me the effing car.
Well, I think we have Thrifty over here as well. So, folks, if you feel any sympathy for Guy, I'll let you make your own decision as to whether you use that company or not.
You have failed me for the last time.
Yeah, that's what I say about Thrifty.
Yeah.
I will not use Thrifty again. They suck raw eggs. They suck raw bad eggs. Bad eggs.
All right, now Guy's got that off his chest.
Yeah. So I got this minivan. And I was telling Gaz about this, and I showed him one of the things that I've recently purchased. I was going to do a couple of guys' daily drives, just because I've got these long drives that I now have to do in the Chicago area, because it's like an hour and a half to get out to Woodstock from Chicago.
Yep.
And so I took the little mount that I use in my car to have the phone up at eye level, but it didn't work with this minivan. It would have worked with the Toyota, with the sedan that had a stalk for the mirror, but this had some kind of weird Dodge Chrysler thing.
Complete unit on the screen.
Yeah. So I couldn't. There was nowhere to attach. The camera. So no guys' daily drives. So another thing that was just like eating away at me.
Yeah.
So I meet up with Dave.
Going like this.
Yeah. It like we were talking earlier, like the little guy thing, you know.
A bit like this.
His name was Guy.
Don't keep him waiting. Don't keep me waiting. Thank you. Ants in the brain. In the brain. So I meet up with Dave, and he takes. I've never had actual real Chicago deep dish pizza, and he takes me to this place, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was really, really good.
It was the Chicago deep dish pizza place.
Yes, and it was delicious. Oh my God, it was so good. And we did do a live In Touch with iOS at his house.
So did that make up a little bit for your feeling? It didn't make up for the fact that you know upset, but it made you feel a bit happier.
It did. Good. However, I had brought like 10 plus mics with me. I don't know why. And Dave, bless his heart, when he saw me pull out this bag that had all these microphones, he didn't say anything. But then as we were recording the podcast, I was like, well, I want to talk about these microphones. He was like, no. You can say what they are, but you're not going to go into great detail on every single one of these microphones.
Well,
and it was Dave. Like, then why did I bring this bag? And he just gave me that look that you give me sometimes when I say something really, really stupid. And it's like, well, why would I do that then? And you just, the look is, I don't know, Guy. Why did you do that?
Yeah,
I didn't have an answer.
Yeah.
That's the look right there. That's the look. That's the look right there. So the next day I met up with Mike Potter, and we went over to the facility that he was going to have the small reel of the virtual part, if that makes any sense, for Macstock 2021. And we get all the gear over there, and we set it all up, and we come to realize that there's going to be a problem, because the only speaker that we have for people that are coming in virtually from the outside is this projector. But that's like right over where our microphones are. So we were looking at a feedback loop.
An infinite feedback loop.
Yes. And there was nothing that we could do other than every single time Mike would stop talking, he had to mute his microphone so that whatever the person that was speaking, when their words were coming out of this projector, weren't being fed back into the microphone. And it still didn't work. We still had lots of problems with the virtual side of virtual Macstock. And there were two rooms. Now you and Carl and a lot of other people were in it wasn't the Jitsi room. That was for the speakers.
It was a podcast room, I think.
Yeah. And I was in there for a while too, but we were kind of testing it before everything started. But then once everything started, we came up to this one point where there was supposed to be a speaker, but there was some kind of issue related to that speaker's presentation. So Mike asked if you and I would be willing to record a podcast. And I was like, yeah, sure. I'm always up to record a podcast with Gaz. But we couldn't get it working in time because I had brought the laptop that was running the Mojave beta. So none of my Rogue Amoeba software was working. And it was like, well, what do I do now? And it was this thing where I had like 15, 20 minutes in total to get everything working. And last year I managed to do it, but I had all the Rogue Amoeba apps.
Yeah.
This year I didn't. And it was like, can't think of anything that's going to make this work. So no podcast from Gaz and me that week. And by the time everything
Sad
was
face.
over, it was sad. But by the time that virtual Macstock was over, it was like 4 or 5 o'clock in Chicago, which is 6 hours behind you. So it was already like 10, 11 o'clock where you were. And it's like, I'm not going to break everything down, go to a new location, contact Gaz after midnight so that we can record some audio. It's like, no.
Because Gaz would have said, no.
But I've got everything set up. No. But virtual Macstock, beyond those little hiccups, actually went really, really well. It was a lot of fun. I know that the people who joined in virtually, for the most part, the speaker part of it went flawlessly. If you were watching it on YouTube live, Mike would come in and he'd say a couple things and he'd right into the presentation, and everything just worked. It was the interaction with the virtual side with the real side where there was some problems. And I can't think of anything that Mike could have done with the equipment that we had that would have made any difference in the short amount of time that we had to set everything up.
Yeah.
So Mike did a stellar job. Dave was there kind of handling the behind the scenes stuff. He did a great job. I was the water carrier, and I carried water like nobody's business. See, here it is right there.
Yeah. You're still carrying it.
Still carrying it. This is Chicago water. No, it's not. And after that was all done, we went over to the Opera House where there's a small restaurant, and we had like a couple of people from the real virtual, still doesn't sound right, from the real virtual part of Macstock 2021 came and met us at the restaurant, and that was a good time. We actually had a picnic the next day, and then when the picnic was over, Dave took me to. You remember when I had that time off and I went to Pennsylvania and my wife and I went on that train for lunch?
Yes.
Well, they had kind of the same thing set up at this Illinois train museum, except it was much bigger. And I was loving it. We were going through it and looking at all this stuff and things and just going through the history of trains throughout the century. When I get a text from one of my cousins who lives in the Chicago area, that her brother, who oddly enough is also my cousin, who knew that he'd had a heart attack.
Yeah.
And so I contacted her and he's like, "Whoa, I'm in the Chicago area. Where is he?" And she told me where he was. So I cut the time with Dave short at the train museum, and I drove. It was like an hour and a half to get out to where this hospital was, because there's no such thing as going someplace quickly. No. In Chicago, it doesn't work that way. Same kind of thing with like New York. Actually, same kind of thing with like London.
Yes.
If you're on the southeast side of London and you have to go someplace that's on the northwest side of London,
even the M25 doesn't help.
No. You may as well just say, I'll see you tomorrow, and I'll get an early start and I'll get there. But I went out and I saw my cousin Ken, and I don't know how much he remembers of me being there. This is funny. I walked into the room, and of course I'm wearing a mask. I'm in this hospital, and I walk into the room and I had this hat on, this Macstock hat on, and he's giving me this look. I'm sure he was like half grogged. He's giving me this look like, "Who the F are you?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Ken, it's your cousin Guy." And he was like, "Take down the mask."
Yeah.
It was like, okay. I pulled the mask down, and he was like, "Oh, okay." So spent a little time with him, and then he ended up having surgery on Wednesday. Had a quadruple bypass, and he's still recovering from it.
Of
naturally
course,
here on Sunday. But I wish him all the best, and I'm kind of keeping in touch with what's going on through his sister, my other cousin,
Cool.
Joyce, that's in that area. And so far, everything seems to be going okay. So
Good,
that was
good.
that was all good. And coming back was relatively uneventful, and for all the crap that I've given Thrifty, the return your car part of it.
Don't bail them out.
No. Well, this was the absolute easiest thing they could have done. The giving the car back to them part was super simple. Basically, just pulled up, and they come up and they scan the car, and then you're done and you leave. So that part of it was easy.
You wait till you get the bill for all those scratches that you didn't spot on the way.
$100 and how much? It was $125 and some change extra beyond what I'd already paid.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember actually when I was when I came over refereeing back in 2006, we got a big American Jeep. I rented it so the girls could, see one of these great big American cars.
Oh, the girls came with you?
Yeah, back in 2006.
Oh, that's funny. Okay.
And they came over and we got one of these and it was great. Anyway, when I was coming back, I just wanted a fairly standard car. And the guy who we were staying with came with me to pick up this car because we were going to pick it up the day before. And we picked it up and they did a similar thing. They tried to upsell me something. And this guy, he went ballistic at them, absolutely ballistic, because I'd done a bit of prepayment, and because I was doing my typical English accent, visiting over, he just went absolutely mental at this guy, and I think he backed down because we could have gone elsewhere at that point because we're in the middle of I won't say where it was, and we could easily get back to another place or go somewhere else, so we weren't beholden to them like you were. But he went ballistic.
I was pretty screwed as far as...
Yeah. And he went ballistic and this guy backed down and said, and as we were coming out, I went, I don't think I'd have done that in the UK. I don't think I'd have gone quite as wild as you did. He said, it's just what we do. He said, you got the deal, didn't you? I went, yeah, fair enough. So, you were really unfortunate by the sound of it.
I handled the thing with Thrifty about as well as a very polite Englishman could have handled it. Because I really wanted to yell and rant and rave.
Yeah. It doesn't get you.
It doesn't get you anywhere. There was a guy that actually, while I was talking, had come up and was in exact same circumstances.
Yeah.
They didn't have the car that he had reserved, and he was just letting them have it. He was just going off.
He was firing guns.
And it was like, well, let me see how well this works. And all I saw was the lady's face curdle.
Yeah.
And say, yeah, okay. It'll be about an hour and a half. Go wait over there. Over there.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, well, I can see how well that's going to work for me.
Yeah.
So give me the effing minivan.
Hey, anyway,
the F
dropped
stands for value.
Yes, value. Yes. So you dropped it off, which was quite painless, which I think most car rental processes are now. Good. And then you got on the plane, which wasn't a Star Wars plane.
It was not a Star Wars plane. It was kind of disappointing, actually. It was like, it would have been great if I could have sat on like the light side this time on the way home.
Because you would have seen a difference.
Yeah, but Tracy picked me up and I got home and everything was great. So what do you think about that?
I think that was really good.
Are you nodding your head?
I might be.
I think you are.
Gaz's tips.
Mostly.
Squeaky chitters.
Mostly.
Squeaky chitters. It's time for
Gaz's tip. Right, Gaz's tip. Do you ever, Guy, find that you've got a load of files in a location when you're in Finder and you think, I could do with putting all of those files into a new location? So you go up and you say, create new folder, and you come down and then you rename it, and then you pick all the files and then you move them across, and then you find that you've only done the aliases, and then you have to go back and move them again and then delete all the aliases. Here's a tip for you, Guy. If you've got a load of files and you want to put them into a new folder, you select the files and then you press Command and Control and N, and hey, voila, they will all be moved as if by magic into a newly created folder. Yes, they will.
Nice. Oh, more head nodding.
Gaz's tips. That's
Most
the
of
end of Gaz's tips. That's the end of Gaz's tips.
Is that the end of the tip?
Will you let me finish?
Guys, you are absolutely right.
No.
I'll say that's getting longer than my actual tip.
I know. I'm not going to do that.
No, that's not going to do it.
Yeah, exactly. That's not going to do it. So, for pick's sake, I have an anti-pick, Gaz.
Okay.
Can you guess what that anti-pick is going to be?
I think it might be. So once you've said the name, leave me to just click something. Once you've done your bit.
Okay, it's Thrifty Car Rental.
That's an anti-pick, is it?
An anti-pick.
Thrifty Car Rental.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I said. Yuck. I will not be using them again. They can go suck on some eggs. So very careful with the way I speak.
Yeah.
You betcha.
Now, we got some feedback, Gaz.
Have we?
We did. From
Ooh.
Owen Rubin.
Owen.
Long-time friend
Hi,
of
Owen.
the show and MyMac.com in particular.
Yeah.
So he says, hope things are going well and that you and your family are staying well and safe. Thank you, Owen. He says, on one of your podcasts, and he says the G-Men, so I'm thinking he's now not Guy's Daily Drive, where you go into great detail about things. I really don't. Where you were talking about the new VM software that runs on the M1, virtual machine software that runs on the M1 processor. I believe you said you could not run any games on them. And he was surprised to find out that the Parallels M1 ARM Windows 10 launches and runs x86 based applications. Not all of them, but many of them. And he wanted us to give him the name of a game where he can get a demo version and he'll tell us whether it runs. Well, Owen, he also says, loves the podcast. It makes my drive to Apple so much shorter. He's back to work at Apple.
Excellent.
Owen, we were basically just kind of reporting on it from what we were hearing. I don't think Gaz or I have parallels with the M1 ARM Windows 10 on it. And frankly, at this point, for games, you're better off just going with one of the services. I know Steam has one, as well as a few other companies where you can play like Xbox games and Steam games and some other games all through a browser. So because internet access has gotten so good in most places, the lag that you would have experienced 5 years ago just isn't there. And computers are so fast now and have so much power that they're able to run these games in emulation right through a browser.
So here's a question to any of the listeners. If they know of any games that they can't run as per the pre-described description of process,
or would like to know
them,
if it does run,
or like to know if it does run, let us know and we'll pass that on to Owen, who can possibly do a check for us, maybe.
Yeah.
But Owen, thanks for getting in contact. Great to hear from you.
Yes, thanks, Owen. It's always good. We need to have him on sometime. We should. He is such a font of knowledge.
Font would be better than fount, yes.
Okay, a font of knowledge. And we're talking Helvetica, okay? So that's way up there. Everybody loves Helvetica. No other feedback. And if you'd like to help support the nonsense, patreon.com/MacParrot, coffee, ko-fi.com/MacParrot, as well as paypal.me.
I'm just catching up.
/MacParrot. Gaz, if people wanted to get...
I wasn't on the right page.
Well, whose fault is that, Mr. Man?
Mine.
Oh, if people wanted to get a hold of you and say, Gaz, you've got to keep up. How would they do it?
Very so easy. Send an email to Gaz, G-A-Z, at mymac.com, or on the Twitters, twitter.com/Gazmaz, G-A-Z, M-A-Z, or on the Twitters and contact both Guy and myself, which is twitter.com/ Guy and Gaz, GUYANDGAZ.
Cars.
You can also send an email to feedback@mymac.com. That's FEEDBACK
Okay.
at mymac.com. Now,
pay no attention to that guy behind the curtain.
Just wait.
well, I try not to. I must admit, I try not to.
Guy says.
Yeah, but whenever he says whatever it is he says, I just kind of ignore him. Like what he says after I've played this bit.
Guy was paid his 75 grand.
I just ignore whatever he says.
I was not paid in 75 grand.
I never asked this
Do
question.
we know it was a guy?
Well, maybe not. But
I like to go with guy.
I like to go with Guy as well. But there you go. Anyway.
Oh, before you go any farther, I know you played those for Allison.
Yes.
In the virtual room.
Yes.
Did she say anything?
She didn't, because she couldn't quite hear them. So what we need to do is we need to get Alison on the podcast, and then we can play them, so she knows how we've been using them.
And then we'll never be able to use them again.
I'm sure we can get some more from her. Anyway,
probably.
Guy's the one.
He is. And
You remember Guy?
I remember Guy. But do you remember
Guy.
Guy?
He's the guy.
He is the guy. And
his name was Guy.
If you want to get an email from Guy,
no fooling.
How would they do it?
So easy. So very easy. Podcast
it's
at
so
VertShark.
easy to get an email from Guy. So
Podcast at VertShark.com. I am Mac Parrot and VertShark. I can barely hear it.
Oh, can't you? There you go.
There we go. That's a little louder. Over there on the Twitters. And Gaz. Oh, also, there's VertShark.com, where you can see all of the audios and all of the videos. VertShark over on the YouTubes for all the videos. Like, share, subscribe. Do those things.
Yeah.
So much fun. We have a Skype telephone number.
We do.
And that number, Gaz, is 1 or +1 outside the United States. 703-436-9501. See, it's like in 3D audio when I go back and forth like that. Wow, it's like it's coming right toward me. That number again is 1 or +1 703-436-9501. Or take that 1 and that +1. Now, some people really dislike 1s and +1s. I don't know why. They just do. Take it, throw it in the bin, do whatever you want to do with it, and just go right to the Skype app and dial 703-436-9501. Now,
what?
I think, Gaz, number one, thank you. Thank you to everyone who downloads and listens. Chicago Deep Dish listens. And you know what they say in Chicago? It has nothing to do with podcasts whatsoever. Thank you. Thank you all for downloading and listening to the MyMac.com podcast. It is greatly appreciated. And Gaz, I think, especially this week, that we are good enough. And I think that outside of where I was talking about all that stuff with Chicago, that you're smart enough. You had to listen to it, and I'm sorry. And that Wolf Gonnet, Wolf. Hopefully he wasn't on that rugby pitch with you that whole time.
No, he wasn't.
Dragging that body. It's so awful. People like us.
Jig like a pizza, I dip Telekin, Chicago, still Uxkull, Unskadet far en, Ortensdisk Boutique, I need a hurten, Ava Meg. Guy?
Yes.
I used to run a dating agency for chickens, but I couldn't make hens meet.
See, that's a UK joke.
What? That I couldn't make hens meet? Hens meet. I can't believe you can't get that.
No.
I delivered it brilliantly as well. End.
So you can all go home and there's nothing to worry about. Get out of here now. Go on. Go on home and go home.